My name is Dr. Ken Gallardi, and today I want to give you my complete photon model's interpretation of the Fresnel zone and make a prediction about the existence of that zone, the verification of which should add to the credibility of the model. The model of the complete photon that I presented in an earlier video provides a realistic explanation for how the experimental results of the double-slit experiment can be realized. The price to be paid for that explanation is that since the mechanics of a complete photon are probabilistic, a consequence of quantization, as I showed in the video on the model, that one is not able to describe the events mathematically as a cause and effect interaction. Instead, one looks at the effect and then looks at the model to see if the model can facilitate that effect. The reasonableness of how the model facilitates the effect is a measure of the credibility of the complete photon model. In physics, we love mathematics. Physics has become the discipline where the credibility of an idea is significantly enhanced when the interaction is described mathematically. The concept of cause and effect is ingrained in physics, but this probabilistic mechanics pulls us away from cause and effect to where one starts with the effect and deduces the cause, that is, the probabilities for each outcome. We are not afforded the luxury of identifying the probabilities from first principles, for that would take us back to cause and effect. So I come back to providing the explanation of the Fresnel zone in a diffraction setting. The explanation that this model presents is simply that the Fresnel zone is the region in which the photon shells, which were separated by the double-slit perturbation and traveled in different directions, reunite, so that the photon is reestablished in a stable configuration. The ability to believe the model's explanation rests on two things. First, the acceptance of the shell structure of the photon, inherent in this model, and the implication that a perturbation, such as the double-slit apparatus, can cause the slits to separate, allowing the different shells to travel through different slits, which is something that must occur for the photon to gain information on the two slits. And second, the recognition that there must be a region in which the photon shells reunite, which is the Fresnel zone. The picture of this model is that some photons may reunite quickly, but by the boundary of the Fresnel zone, most of the photons will have reunited. This means that the Fresnel zone does not have an exact boundary, but rather delineates the region in which most will have reunited. Supporting this interpretation is the fact that one cannot observe the shells of a photon because of quantization, which insists that you either see the whole photon or you see nothing. The result is that one cannot map out the path of the photon in this region. However, within the Fresnel zone, one can induce a reunion by inserting a detector in the zone. If the detector identifies a photon, it will either be because that photon is reunited already, or because the detector, which is another perturbation, causes the shells to come together. And now to the prediction that this interpretation makes with respect to the Fresnel zone. It's predicted that every time the shells of a photon separate from their stable configuration, either by traveling different directions or by traveling at different speeds, that the reunification of the photon will take some time and distance. The Fresnel zone is the region in which the photon shells regain their stable, unperturbed format, leading to the prediction of this paper that a Fresnel equivalent zone must exist in the case of a photon traveling perpendicular to the optic axis of a birefringent media, because the shells take on different polarizations and therefore travel at different speeds. One can't predict the depth of the zone, but only that it takes time and distance for the photon shells to return to their unperturbed configuration, and therefore a Fresnel equivalent zone must exist. Well, that's a refresher on the explanation of a Fresnel zone and the prediction I make with respect to it. Thanks for watching, and again I ask you to subscribe as I present several additional videos on the implication of this model, because you will be notified when each additional video is available. And please pass this video on, particularly to those in the physics community. Thanks for watching, and God bless.